The story opens with a high-voltage box covered in warning signs, and our boy is standing there holding live wires like a complete maniac. Two goons grab him from behind, and he instantly runs the math that getting captured here means it's completely over. So instead of folding, this absolute menace touches the cables together and fries all three of them with a single massive short circuit. He takes the hit himself just to avoid being taken back, and as the smoke clears he gets right back up because inside his chest beats a resurrection heart. And dying is literally not an option for this guy. This is the story of Ju Kim, and his heart is not normal. In this world, a rare mutation causes certain people to grow bizarre hearts with unique powers. These people are called heart mutants, and everyone acts like it's some divine blessing. Ju hears that and wants to laugh because right now he is digging through a trash can, starving and completely on the run. His power didn't give him a good life. It gave him a decade of lab experiments and a skeleton body that terrifies everyone he meets. But today's lucky find is a half-eaten piece of bread he finds in that trash can. He eats it like it's a 5-star meal with zero regrets. Just then a stray dog walks up sniffing, and Ju, being the actual softie he is, breaks off a piece and shares it. The dog licks his bony hand. You can call it a sweet moment until an entire pack of strays appears out of nowhere, and our boy is suddenly in hot water, while he hides behind a wall thinking it's the lab hunters. But nope, these are just 3 local bullies cornering a bustabatty. Ju spots the bag of pet food in her hands and immediately understands what she was doing there. And even in his completely destroyed state, this guy walks straight up to the group and tells them to stop. The bullies turn around in confusion, and when they spot Ju's skeleton face up close, they completely lose their minds, screaming about ghosts. He shows his bone blade and warns them to leave before he makes things worse. They sprint away as their lives depend on it. The girl is still on the ground shaking, trying to stutter out a thank you, when Ju points at her with his skeletal finger, and she absolutely panics. But he is not threatening her. He just picks up her dropped bag of pet food, takes one small bite, and politely asks if he can have some. Seeing this, the girl screams and bolts. He watches her go with zero surprise, sits down with the dogs, and starts eating the pet food in peace. But the girl didn't go far. She's hiding nearby watching him and slowly puts it together that a heart mutant saved her from danger. She instantly feels guilty and walks back over to him. She pulls out a sandwich from her bag and offers it to him. Judo stares at it like she just handed him a national treasure, because he has only ever seen sandwich wrappers in the trash before this moment. He takes one bite, and his entire system crashes from how good it tastes. She introduces herself as Hyaji, while our guy introduces himself as Geo Kim formally, like a gentleman with no skin. She asks how he ended up like this, and he tells her the truth. He is on the run from a research center that captures mutants and has been chasing him ever since he escaped. Hyaji has heard the rumors and asks what they actually did to him there. Geo pauses, then tells her the truth. 10 years of experiments and procedures, all because his resurrected heart kept healing him no matter what they put him through, making him the perfect test subject that the labs simply could not afford to let go. Hyaji listens to all of it, stands up, and grabs his hand. She's taking him somewhere, and our single-ass guy is so shocked by the contact that his bone blade pops out involuntarily. And then, halfway down the street, his entire arm detaches, and she's just standing there holding a disconnected skeletal limb. She panics, but he tells her this happens sometimes. He just lines it back up, and it reattaches like nothing. She takes him to get a proper disguise, buying him new clothes and a wig out of her own pocket without being asked. Jima puts everything on and genuinely loves every single piece of it on his skinny-ass body. He is blushing with excitement until she tells him the transformation is not complete yet because his face is still fully visible. She sits him down and covers everything with makeup, adding glasses to finish the job. The result is horrible because bro turns out to look like the ultimate Joker of the year. She steps back and instantly feels ashamed by how stupid it turned out, and her phone rings and she realizes she is late for class. She tells him to watch the street dogs and runs off just like that. Jujiu stands there with the pack surrounding him, turning her name over in his head. He thinks about the lab where everyone treated him like an experiment, and on the streets everyone ran from him in fear, but this girl held his hand, bought him clothes, and talked to him like a normal person, and that is something he has not experienced in a very long time. He lies down with the dogs and thanks the little one that led him to meet her, then asks what he should call it. The dog licks his face and Jujuyu decides on the name Potato. The dog barks happily, as if it fully approves. He thinks about seeing her again tomorrow, and for one brief moment, actually lets himself look forward to something. When reality kicks in hard, he is being actively hunted, and his presence puts her in real danger. With a heavy heart, he gets up, pulls his hood on, and walks away alone into the dark city streets. After walking for a long time, he finds a sewer entrance near a river and slips inside to hide from everyone. He passes out on the dirty ground from pure exhaustion and wakes up holding a rat by the tail. He gets up, reminds himself he cannot just sleep anywhere, and immediately feels his stomach roaring at him. He pulls out the pet food he saved before leaving and starts eating each piece while imagining it as part of that sandwich. He uses the memory to trick his body into feeling satisfied. It was actually working surprisingly well until Potato launched himself out of nowhere, stole the food directly from his hand, and sat there looking completely unbothered. Jitsum scolds him, but before he can even process how the dog found such a remote hiding spot, his cham's voice echoes through the sewer. She followed the dog's scent all the way here, and she is not happy about having had to do that. She appears with an angry look and asks why he disappeared without a single word. Jujuyu apologizes and admits he was afraid to cause trouble for her. She smiles and says she is just glad she found him, then dumps an entire pile of snacks onto the ground, because apparently one sandwich yesterday does not count as feeding a person. She mixes cookies into milk and slides it over. Joao has never had this before in his life. He tries one spoonful and starts crying. The dessert broke him, and our boy is completely smitten with. Dinner boy drinking soda, his arm starts rapidly regenerating. Haiji watches the bone reform in real time and asks if healing is always this slow. Joao tells her that at this rate a full recovery would take years. He casually mentions there is a faster method in the lab, but changes the subject immediately before she can ask what it is. He reveals that they needed him alive to run their experiments, and that's why they are still searching for him. Hearing this, she figures out that he ran to protect her from the lab and replies yes. She stands up and says they are going to the police. Jujuyu shuts it down immediately, knowing how they will instantly shoot a monster like him. But she smiles and drops a secret that her older sister is a police officer. And not just that, her sister is also a heart mutant. Yudo goes completely silent because that was not on his bingo card. He is still processing when Haiji says her goodbyes to the dogs and heads home, leaving him alone with Potato. He looks at the little dog and makes a decision. He is not running this time. For the first time in 3 years, someone reached out to help him, and he is not going to throw that away. He puts on his hood and starts walking, and then headlights slam into him from nowhere. A car hits him at full speed and sends his body flying. His glasses come off midair before he crashes onto the road. Haiji tries to warn him, but she gets grabbed from behind, and from the shadows a scarred man lights a cigarette and says he finally found that pathetic piece of scrap. He orders his underlings to take him with them. They tie him with ropes and start dragging him behind the moving vehicle along the asphalt. His hands get destroyed against the road as he fights to stop the car. He blames himself completely, and she got pulled into this because of him. He tries to fight back, but it is not enough because his useless skill can't do anything. He starts to lose hope when the street dogs arrive like real gangstas. Potato leaves the charge and starts biting through the rope while the whole pack pulls against the car with everything they have. The rope breaks and Juo hits the ground free, surrounded by barking dogs protecting his broken body. The kidnappers step out of the car with baseball bats, and these clowns have zero hesitation about using them on animals. Juo watches his friends getting hurt fighting for him and forces himself up. He cannot let them do this alone. He clenches his fist and remembers the blood scattered across the asphalt and starts dragging himself toward the nearest puddle, knowing it can accelerate his healing. But before he reaches it, he looks to his side and sees Potato lying motionless on the ground. Then he turns around and sees the rest of the pack scattered across the asphalt, all of them still and gone. These were the same animals that bit through a rope and pulled him free just minutes ago. He calls their names and gets nothing back. Something inside his chest begins to pulse. 10 years of memories start flooding in at once. The laboratory, the chains and the red substance they fed him every morning so his body would be strong enough to survive whatever they did to him next. The endless cycle of being broken and healed with no escape and no end in sight, because his own heart simply refused to let him die. He finally escaped, thinking the nightmare was over. Instead, the outside world looked at him like he was a walking biohazard. People crossed the street, Kids cried, and he ended up eating out of trash cans like a discount raccoon. Then a girl shared her sandwich with him, and a small dog licked his hand. Those were the only moments in years that made him feel like a person. That memory is what finally flips the switch. Every drop of blood on the ground starts moving at once and rushing toward him. It wraps around his body, and the regeneration that usually crawls along like a hungover snail suddenly goes full turbo mode. His muscles rebuild, skin stitches over bones, and his face snaps back into place. Our boy stands up looking properly human for the first time in forever. He barely pauses to process the fact that he just got a full heal from dog blood. The henchman who steps toward him first gets launched into the side of a car with a single punch, and the door caves in around the guy, like cheap aluminum foil. Geo walks past him without slowing down, crouches on the ground, and carefully picks up Potato's body. He holds it for a moment, completely still. Then he looks up at the men still standing, and tells them he knows the most painful way for a person to go, and he leaves the one alive who will tell him where Heiji is. The scene shifts to an isolated warehouse in the middle of nowhere that screams secret base. Several black cars are parked outside, and armed goons are posted at every corner. Inside, someone yanks a dark bag off the hostage's head, and Heiji opens her eyes into the ugly light. Our 1110 baddie desperately asks who these people even are and why they dragged her out to this hideout. She spots human corpses scattered around the room, and it leaves her in total shock. No one of the men grabs her hair and asks if she has extra lives to be screaming like that. He shows her a photo of the skeleton and makes it crystal clear that she is only here because she helped that mutant. He warns her to stay silent if she doesn't want to disappear. Just then the leader's phone rings, and the henchman on the other end starts rambling about dogs, then drops the bomb that the bone monster turned back into a human and that the animals were responsible. The boss completely loses and asks for clarity. Heiji overhears everything while quietly hoping those little dogs actually came through for her friend. The boss asks if they seriously lost the skeleton and erupts, screaming about how valuable the target was and calling his man useless garbage. He turns back to Heiji and asks her to tell him everything right now because the escape just cost him a lot of money. She tells him she knows nothing, so he pulls out a blade and suggests roughing her up might help her memory along. Heiji thinks back to how her friend warned her about being followed, and she brushed it off completely, and that regret hits very differently with a blade near your face. Just as things are about to go very bad, one of the henchmen suddenly gets launched into another, and both hit the ground like dead maggots. Our boy is standing at the entrance in full human form, radiating a dark aura of pure vengeance, like a Sigma who just hit an infinite power glitch. One goon steps forward and calls him a beggar because of his torn, dirty clothes, which is genuinely the worst raid of his situation. Our Chad grabs that man by the neck with absurd speed and starts squeezing, and the guy struggles to breathe, wondering what kind of strength this is. With a completely cold stare, our boy tells them that the little dogs are all gone because of what they did tonight. The leader shouts for his men to handle it, and two rush forward, one landing a punch directly into our guy's face. But he does not flinch and responds with a hit so devastating. The attacker goes flying across the room. Then another grabs him from behind while a third yanks his hair. His eyes glow intense red through the pain, and he throws one of them over his shoulder with a force that shocks everyone watching. Then he asks them if they were sent by Herm's research lab. Heiji stares in disbelief as she realizes this is Geo, with an actual face now. The boss figures it out too and shouts that the skeleton turned into a person, remembering the warning that he might not recognize him after a full regeneration. He immediately pulls a weapon and fires into our boy's chest, thanks him sarcastically for coming back on his own, and orders every man to open fire without stopping until he cannot regenerate anymore. His shots come from all directions, and the boss screams to keep firing. Blood is running down our guy's face and soaking his already destroyed clothes. Heiji screams for them to stop, and nobody listens. Eventually, his body drops, and the henchmen celebrate like they actually won something. Then his hand twitches, and the blood pooling around him starts flowing back into his body. The blood from the fallen henchman nearby slides across the floor toward him too, and his heart of resurrection is pulsing with a terrifying amount of energy. One of the goons notices and completely loses his mind, screaming that the target is coming back to life, and the boss watches our guy rise from the floor and compares it to a zombie stand-up. The leader orders to start another round of fire, and Geo is feeling every single bullet that is tearing through his skin, but the pain registers differently now. Our Sigma has been through far worse in that lab as a child, crushed by presses, subjected to endless inhumane experiments, and compared to all of that, bullets are just an inconvenience for him. He lands a devastating punch on the nearest goon that sends the man crashing into a metal tank hard enough to dent it, then unleashes his full fury across the warehouse at a speed nobody in the room can track. What really drives him is the memory of the little dogs who sacrificed themselves to protect him, the image of Potatoes smiling, and the weight of not being able to keep his only friends safe. He keeps moving at the speed of a thrifted flash and smashes the goons in all directions. Then, as she wants it, the boss grabs Heiji and tries to flee, threatening to shoot her if our boy takes one more step. Our Chad ignores this completely and delivers a punch so precise and brutal into the kidnapper's face that the villain crashes into a metal tank and lands on the dirty floor completely destroyed. He looks up at our guy with genuine terror and starts begging, promising anything. Our boy stares down with empty eyes and says it is far too late for forgiveness, then delivers a sequence of rapid blows so fast the man cannot even raise his arms. When it is over, the entire warehouse is in chaos. Every henchman is down, and our boy finally takes a breath and lets it end. Heiji calls his name with a shaky voice, and he walks toward her slowly barefoot on the dirty floor, then drops to his knees and pulls her into a tight hug. With tears in his eyes, he tells her how scared he was that she might get caught in everything. He confesses that the dogs are gone and they gave their lives for him. He thanks her for being alive, and she hugs him back and says she is just happy he is alive.